And summary. Right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Freshman Getting In series, episode 6, with Sulaiman from Duke University. Yeah, this is our, I think, first guest from a country other than Uzbekistan. So we're kind of expanding our reach and welcoming more Central Asian top uni admits to our series to share their incredible experience, life stories, academic insights from about studying in a given university and about their admissions cases. So let's start off with a brief discussion of Suleiman's case, right? Can you quickly walk us through your academic background? What school do you come from, and how rigorous was your academic experience at school? Just a brief discussion of that.
Hello everyone, my name is Sulaiman Khydyr and I'm from Kyrgyzstan. I'm a Duke 2028, class of 28, computer science major, and I got a full scholarship to Duke University this year. And if we talk about my academic background, I come from a very much public, not special school in Kyrgyzstan with no external classes like IB courses, A levels, or any AP classes. So I had no such things. The school in itself was rigorous, specifically in math, because we've won many mathematical Olympiads in the region. So in math-wise, we were pretty rigorous, even though we didn't have any external classes. Uh, IELTS, I had IELTS 8, and SAT, I had 1540 and SAT, 770 in math, and 770 in English reading.
Great.
I've won multiple regional Olympiads for math, Russian language, and English languages throughout my high school experience. In addition to that, I did an exchange year here in America for 1 year as a flex student on another full ride scholarship.
Right. So you have, but by the time you started putting your application together for Duke, right? You have had both a so to say Central Asian exposure, right? Like I mean, studying in a public school here, and at the same time an international one based in America, right? Which where you already got the idea of how the resources of schools and academic structures in the US differ from the ones here, right? So
Yes.
you mentioned that at your school the math department was very well developed, but I believe there was no club system, no infrastructure whatsoever to engage in some, like extensive extracurriculars, right?
Well, yeah, before I started them, there were none. But I did
Mhm.
start a math lab in my school, and we did practices together with American tools. So when I went to America and came back, the thing that I saw was, as you already described.
Oh, wait, Suleiman, I muted everyone and I muted you. Excuse me for interrupting. Can you unmute yourself? Yeah,
Got it.
perfect.
As you already mentioned, when I came back from USA, I realized the unevenness of resource distribution among different schools. So in America, I could take AP classes, I could take free ACT,
Mhm.
SAT tests, I could take so many courses. I could learn how to play trumpet, guitar, piano, and all for free. But in Kyrgyzstan, I couldn't do anything like that. So it was. I kind of wish I was studying in America. I was still studying in American high school, but I was in Kyrgyzstan. So I decided to start a math club where we could learn math more digital way through Han Academy, through practices, through Desmos and all that. And they definitely help our students because before introducing that to my school, our uh, my classmates and our students didn't have an idea of how that those tools and resources even existed in the first place, and they
Mhm.
definitely did help. And our math department was really strong because we got very much the how to say this Soviet Union type of teachers who've been in the school for like decades and who
Mhm.
are the masters of their field, who have taught us well. And I'm really thankful to them
Mhm.
because we've won many Olympiads with them, and it really helped me in my application as well.
Hmm. So I know that uh, I think we all know that probably Soviet education, especially back in the time, um, it was pretty strict. Well, as far as I know and remember, like I did have some like not even some many teachers in chemistry, biology, maths who were extremely strict, and they pushed, like the academic rigor to the next level. Do you feel like when you got to experience American system as a flex student, do you feel like it was way stricter than your math experience at a public school?
Mhm. Well, I agree with you on the view of Soviet education being very much strict because that's been the case that I noticed it when I came to the United States. Because when I came to US, I saw that the people my age were taking the math levels that I took maybe like 1, maybe 2 years ago. So I was like,
Mm.
oh
Mhm.
wow, you guys are late. Uh, so in high school wise, the Soviet style education has way more advantage because we push students to the edge, and we'll give them everything really quickly. So I was taking math 2 years earlier than the American counterparts. So when I came to the US, I didn't take any math courses. I was just sitting and doing other classes because math wise I was already there, and I couldn't take the AP course here in America. I
Mhm.
had the problems with the local school district. It's not specified for flex, but me specifically, I had a problem with some local district and I couldn't take AP classes. But as I said, math rigor in Soviet schools is way higher than in America. And it goes in all other directions as well. Geography, biology, chemistry. We are taught everything in our schools. Biology, chemistry, geography, everything is forced to take. But in America, you can choose what subjects to take and what not. That's why a lot of people say Americans don't know geography because they didn't have to. They didn't choose it in high school. Like they didn't have to do it, but we had to.
Mhm. So overall, as academicians, we might be stronger. We are stronger, are
100%.
we?
Literally, most international students
Okay.
applying are stronger.
Mhm.
Uh, I wouldn't say stronger than the domestic applicants because they have the advantage of taking AP classes,
Mhm.
IBs, and all that. But in general sense, the average American student would be dumber than the average international student. But
Mhm. Okay.
you're not applying to average universities. You're applying to top universities, and
Mhm.
at the same time, you're not compared to domestic students. You're compared to other international students from the same pool as you. In the case of Uzbekistan, it might be the pool either only the country of Uzbekistan or uh, the whole Central Asia.
Mhm. But still, if we think in terms of admission system, right, and admissions requirements, the AP and IB systems, they are kind of, well, they do show the quality of education and the quality of knowledge, right, and the academic preparedness of a student. So, um, do you how do you feel your flex experience at a US based school expanded your academic capabilities and strengthened your chances of being admitted to a top university?
Mhm. Well, I did my exchange year in my junior year.
Hmm.
I finished my sophomore year, and then I went to America in 2021 as a junior. And I feel like it's helped me in the admissions by introducing me to admissions in the first place. Because before America, I was like, I'm gonna go to America. I was telling everyone, I'm going to go to America. I'm gonna study in America. I'm gonna go to university in America. But no one, but if they even asked the question of how, like, do you know how the admissions are, I would just fold. I didn't have an answer to it. But when I went to America, I realized how the whole system works. That you have to take some tests, that you have to get recommendation letters, submit your academic background, write
Hmm.
essays. I did not know any of that before going to America. So my exchange year introduced me to the whole admission process. And additionally, I think it introduced me to lots of resources that I didn't know the existence of.
Hmm.
So a lot of a lot of ways that I learned here that I learned were based on what other Americans were learning at that time. So I was like grabbing the resources the Americans were using. So if you are in Uzbekistan and you haven't been to the United States, you will use the resource that you see other Uzbekistanis using. What I did was I was trying to create the maximize my application to make it look more domestic rather than international. I was trying to make it look like that. by
Mm-hmm.
using the resources the Americans were using. If they're using this book, I'm gonna use that book. If they
Mm.
listening to this YouTuber, I'm gonna listen to this YouTuber. Because I don't feel like you should limit yourself to the international circle, and you should look deeper into the domestic ways of getting in as well.
Yeah, I think that's an extremely valuable perspective, actually. We have never yet discussed it, right? We do discuss the scope of ideas that we're surrounded by as international students, right? But we never actually got to experience, like, how does an American student look at admissions, right? How do they think of it? What resources do they have? And so, what were the resources that you used, right, to make your application look more American, more domestic?
Mhm. Well, first of all, I did an exchange year, so I definitely mentioned it in my extracurricular activities as being an exchange student in America and all the things that I did as playing in high school band or playing tennis, founding a debate club
Mm,
in American high school, all those activities. That is one. Second, mentioning resources. Uh, I feel like even when watching YouTube or even when watching TikToks, a lot of applicants from Central Asia, they limit themselves to the international videos of how to get into US college as an international student, how to
yeah,
do this as
been
an
there,
international student.
been
But
there.
you shouldn't limit yourself to that and see what the domestic students are doing and see if it works. Because uh, the admissions officers, they are more prone to the American ways because they are in America. So
Mhm.
literally, the more American you are, the better for you. And
Uh-huh.
if we talk about resources, I used two resources and two resources, and all of them were for free. First one being BNS admissions. So I got this financial support from Babajan Bakhtiar and Schrobaka, who helped me with my essays, with my whole application for the whole month of September, and they did it for free for me. They saw that I had the potential and didn't have the financials to pay for the admissions course at the time, and they
Mhm.
helped me for free. So that is a great boost, like absolutely. And the second resource was very unconventional that I used. What I did was I went on Reddit on the 15th of December, I remember. And
Mhm.
on the 15th, what happens on 15th of December is that on the 14th, lots of ED kids received their acceptances. Lots of EDEA people get their acceptances.
Mhm.
And when a lot of people get their acceptances and they got into the top school of their choice, they're really happy. And when they're happy, they are really generous. So when I went on to Reddit of uh, students applying to top colleges, and I really asked for help. I was like, dedicate 15 minutes of your time and change the whole direction of my life. I said something like that. Like, you get to change my
Wow.
life. You get to change
Wow.
my life. I get 15 minutes of your time. And then lots of people reached out. Uh,
Wow, this
and
is very smart.
I messaged lots of people in Reddit, and
Uh-huh.
I got to know only one person in total. So lots of people, like maybe five, six, who reached out, and only one of them actually did the conversation through Instagram and just meeting person to person. And the girl from UPenn who got accepted to ED UPenn, she reached out to me. We went on to Instagram, we talked with her, and this is how I Americanized my application. Every essay that I did, I sent it to her so she could edit certain phrasings, certain
Mm.
sentences to make it more American, to make my English better and more understandable to the American admissions officers. Because as an
Wow.
international student, the language that you use is
Yeah.
slightly different than the domestic students. Domestic students get to see the English world for most of their lives, 18 years, 19 years. Their whole life they've been surrounded by English speakers. The books they read are in English. AP English course, they've taken it. So they have better English than you do. So I sent my emails essays to her. She edited it and her edits automatically made it more American. The phrases, the sentence structures that
Yeah.
she changed, they became more American. And I think it greatly helped me in my application too.
I think it's not just about the language, but about translating your unique experiences and making them understandable and more relatable to um, a, a person with a more American background. Not more, but an American background, because there still is this, like a huge gap of cultural understanding, right? We're still human, but there's cultural difference, right? And if you say it in the way that we usually communicate something here, they probably won't understand it, right? So you got to
100%.
find the phrases and ways to deliver that. Wow. And overall, what advice could you give to people to if they want to reach out to American students and ask for help? Because there is
Well,
also again communication element that can either help you or not help you.
mhm. Yeah. Well, first, as in all cases, it's about communications, right? You have to be able to
Mhm.
communicate your thoughts clearly, be clear about your intentions, and be nice about asking for help. So first thing is be humble enough to ask for help, because in a lot of cases, people are just shy and how to say a bit maybe a bit arrogant of asking help from their counterparts. They're like, how why am
Mm,
I asking help from the person who is the same age as me? Am I a beggar or something? No, you have to ask for help. If you want help, if you need help, be humble enough to ask for it. And the second thing is,
mm,
you have to be very much well mannered in your messages and in your communications, because you say thank you, say good morning, be well mannered in your conversations. Because if you're the one who's asking for help and you get to a situation where you're not the nice person, and the helper is being nice to you more than you, help is not gonna last long. They're gonna drop you maybe like one day after the initial contact, second day, third day. So be well mannered and really thank them actually for helping you, and that helps a lot. uh and the third thing, no matter who you message and no matter who you get message back from, do not depend on them. Do your activities and do what you say. Do what you say. If you said to them that, hey, I'm gonna write an essay in one day and I'm gonna send it to you, can you edit for 5 minutes? And then you don't write the essay, and you're like, I'm gonna send it tomorrow, I'm gonna send it the day after that.
mm,
You're not keeping your words. If you say something, do it, because your word is your bond. And if you do not keep up your word, they're not gonna help a random person out of in the middle of nowhere. They're sitting in America and they're messaging you somewhere in Uzbekistan. But to them, you're not known. You're like in the middle of nowhere, and they are helping you. So first, be nice, be humble, and be communicative enough, and do what you say.
mhm. Do you think it's also a good idea to first write the message and then send it to your friends to ask for feedback, whether that sounds appropriate? Because I feel like many people can very much doubt themselves and feel not just shy, but like, why would another person even want to help me and like have a lot of negative self-talk?
Mhm. Can you repeat the first part of
Yeah,
sending
yeah, yeah.
questions to
The
friends?
first question, yeah. Do you think it's a good idea to first writing a message and then sharing it with your friends to get feedback on, and then send it to your uh, potential American reviewers, so to say?
Mhm. Uh, I don't know. I don't think it's very much that
Mhm,
problematic to ask for help, because you're not sending it uh, you're not sending it to an admission officers. You're sending it to another student.
mhm,
You can just refine your message, and then send it to them. But if your friend doesn't mind, you can send it to your friend as well. Maybe they can review your message and then help them. Because as we say in Central Asia, one head is good. Second head, two heads is better.
mhm. Right. So, by now we have discussed your public school experience, your involvement in mathematical pursuits, right? Taking part in maths Olympiads and acing them. Also, some academic background of IELTS 8.0 and SAT 1540. Um, Besides that, Olympiads in Russian language and English language. And also from that discussion, I remember you mentioned you were using the American resources or international resources to prepare for maths Olympiads, right? Yep.
The American resource, yes,
Yeah,
100%.
okay. They are in English language, right? I mean, Han Academy, there is a Russian version as well. So coming from a public school, I remember you also mentioned that there was a problem with English language. Oh, no, wait, not English, with the Russian language. Yeah, excuse me. Um, so the question is like, where, or maybe it's a stupid question. I
Not at
mean,
all.
okay,
Any
so like,
question
were
works.
you, okay, anyway, like, were you adapting the resources? Because, like, what was the linguistic background of all of the students who were preparing for Mass Olympiads using those resources? Like, were
Uh,
there somebody adapting the materials, or how were you approaching those?
well, mathematics is a universal language. You don't, if besides the notations that you need in math, in general, math is very much universal across
Mhm.
languages. So I didn't need much of translations at all. But I mean, I had the situation when I had the AP books from Americans PDF files of AP Calc AB from English, and then the concepts in there, the formulas that I need to translate to Russian for to help the students who were trying to use the same resource as me, the American way. But besides that, the math was very much simple and understandable
Mhm.
because math is math. It's only in numbers, not in letters, most of the time.
Mhm. Right. So, speaking more about the academics, but not the formal one, more about something like project based, right? So you did Olympiads in maths, and right now you're pursuing computer science at Duke. What kind of extracurriculars did you do that were related to computer science, where you tried to bridge your passions or show your creativity or innovation?
Yeah. Uh, First thing, I really like the fact that you mentioned innovation because it's very much important that you do first initiative, and then second, in that initiative, you have to show entrepreneurial skills, entrepreneurial something, invent something of your own, bring out an innovation to something that has been done the same way for prolonged amount of time. So the changes that you're bringing, they are very important. And as we speak about the computer science extracurriculars, I did three of them. So first one was you first of all you have to group your activities. Uh, first batch being your career related activities. So for me, it was computer science. Second one being your high school activities that make you generally a good applicant. So
Mhm.
leadership positions, clubs, any type of activities that other high school students do. Clubs, uh, public speaking, Olympiads, any type of things for high school that make you generally a good applicant. And the third, last, it might be optional, but the smallest one is something extra. So maybe home chores, maybe your hobbies, maybe something that you do on your own that is not related to your career, that is not related to your high school experience, that is not related to top extracurricular activities, but something very much small that just shows another
Mhm.
perspective to you, that just adds another tone to your application.
Mhm.
And when it comes to computer science projects, I did three. First one being my GPT tuning. So I use AI GPT fine tuning, and I used the Kyrgyzstan's all free accessible laws to train the bots and made it testable, working. And the second one being I worked. Initially it started out as a translation job, but it went to computer science because when we started, I worked
Mhm.
as a translator in a local newspaper. I translated speeches from English to Russian and Kyrgyz and vice versa. And the job started out as just manually sitting on my laptop and just translating text through Google. But the problem arose that we had to translate in a team, we had to translate books of 300 pages, 400 pages. And that's when we used Google Docs, which translates 10 pages at a time. And if you want to translate a book of 380 pages, you have to do some kind of manual work where you take 10 pages of that book, translate it through Google tool, and then put it back into a new document. Then you grab the next 10 pages, and then you translate them and then put it back on. You have to stack them up together after separating them. But the bot that we created in our tech team in that newspaper was, the bot itself, it automatically got 380 pages and would do the manual work on its own. So it would separate 10 pages, send it through Google Doc, and then stack it up. Then the next 10 pages, the next pages, translate them through Google Docs tool, and then it would output already translated version of that book. So that's a project that I did. And the middle part where I mentioned the as leadership, club, initiative, sports, anything related about high school. They had school presidentship, first of all, very much important. School leadership, exchange year, very much integral to my application.
Mhm.
School clubs, I did debates both in Kyrgyzstan and in America. That's really important. Uh, what else? School clubs, school positions, volunteering definitely
Oh.
include volunteering. Yeah, I used
Mhm.
to teach English to kids.
Mhm.
And the third type of thing that I included. So the first two groups took up eight spaces, 8 units in my application, in my extracurricular activity list, and there were only two left for the third, right? The not directly involved part. In the two of them, I mentioned first of all my home responsibilities, where I had to look after the garden with a apple tree garden in our house,
Mhm.
collect them every year and sell them. I had to look after my brother, do home chores around the house for my mom and dad.
Mhm.
That was my home chores. And the 10th activity was just a hobby, just of taking pictures with your phone, just taking pictures. I included as a hobby. And it doesn't mean much because the only thing that I mentioned in my description was the fact that I made lots of photos from my family. I was part of the team as a cameraman for my brother's wedding, and then that I made a couple of albums for the family. It was very much simple, right? But I used that 10th activity as a link, established as a link to be able to later go back to it in my supplemental essay about
Mhm.
diversity, where I use the camera metaphor to bring the whole thing
Mhm.
into one united picture.
Yeah, I see. So the first thing, right, to reiterate about how you approach the activities list, right? So you don't look at them through a list of, oh, I'm a computer scientist, I'm applying for computer science. So all of them must be computer science related or like show my skills at mathematics or like in computers, right? But you look at this more of a snapshot of who you are as a person, and then you use these activities like to better show the context that you're coming from, right?
Mhm,
Show your kind of career direction, your passions, but at the same time, like, okay, what were you doing maybe on a daily basis? And then you were connecting and referring back to them in various parts of your application, either for metaphors or for like a different storytelling, right?
mhm. 100%. I agree. Uh, I use the extracurricular activities as a way to I had extracurricular activities. Then I used them to and then wrote my supplemental essays, and even my personal statement was about one of my extracurricular activities.
Mhm.
So writing about the extracurricular activities and explaining why you did them, how you did them is very important. And speaking of showing your math skills throughout your application for if you're applying for CS, that is actually true. You have to somehow a lot of your applications have to have a certain tone of mathematics, a certain
Mhm.
context of mathematics. So, for example, if you're a computer scientist and you're doing something about clubs, what did you do? Maybe you were able to do something of web designing for the club.
Hmm.
Maybe you were able to help the communications between clubs using your own uh, programmer communications. So
Hmm.
these kind of small, uh, small dips into your passion throughout an unrelated extracurricular activities is really important too, because you have to show them that if you're applying for computer science, you are more leaning toward that side rather than being
Hmm.
uncentral. So you have the main three activities that you include for your
Hmm.
major, but at the same time, throughout the rest of the extracurricular activities, if you have a couple of deviations where something unrelated to computer science actually gets into it in a smaller way, just because you were there as a person who's interested in computer science, it gives you just it gives the admissions officer an understanding that hey, he is actually into computer science.
Hmm. I also read that Duke cares deeply about innovation. At least this is like this is the thing that stands out once you go over either their website or you go over some of their documents, right? And you also mentioned, I think you um, quoted supplemental question prompt, right? Like tell about something that like has entrepreneurial spirit or no, or you were not referring to a supplemental question, you were just saying that, well, when you put activities, right, there got to be like an innovative spirit to them. It was
Yes,
more of a your idea, or it was something that was Duke related specifically?
it's not related to Duke specifically because entrepreneurial skills are generally appreciated in all top universities because you have to be an entrepreneur to be able to successful in the world of creativity because you have to be creative
Mm-hmm.
enough. You have to be first smart to produce something, and you have to be creative enough to produce something meaningful. So entrepreneurial skills are appreciated all across the board of all universities. Doesn't matter whether it's Duke or Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, the thing that I tried to do was showing the entrepreneurial skills. So the same way that you show your math skills throughout your activities by saying by showing that the extracurriculars unrelated to computer science were kind of dipping into computer science just because of you. The same way with the entrepreneurship. If you do something initiative, uh, you have to do the initiative in a creative way. Your idea has to stand out. Your idea has to be unique and those kind of small small marks and shapes of your entrepreneurship throughout your application, whether it's your essay or your extracurricular activity or your honors. Those just add a tone of entrepreneurship to your canvas of application,
Mm-hmm.
and just it's just generally appreciated.
But still, like, at least based on how, universities communicate, so to say, their identity to us, right? When you think of, oh, entrepreneurship, something like more of a exciting innovation, businessy stuff, you start thinking of Stanford, right? I also think of Stanford when I think of sports or athleticism. When I think of responsibility, like honesty, uh, like global citizenship, I think of Harvard. When I think of something, yeah, okay, I don't know how to describe Yale. I can have a feeling, but I cannot translate it. But for you, now that you have experienced Duke, okay, um, yeah. Now that you have experienced Duke, what do you feel like are the most important elements uh of your Duke experience right now? Like
Mhm.
what do you feel university cares the most about?
Well, it's been the case that back, I think in December, before I even applied here, I was comparing Duke and Stanford, and I was searching up through Reddit and Quora
Hmm.
to compare the values of these universities. And I came across a post of an admissions officer who works both at Stanford and Duke at different periods of time, periods.
Hmm.
And the way she put it was, Stanford likes entrepreneurs. Yes, they appreciate entrepreneurs. But if you compare in general sense of what kind of applicants they want applicants who have a, how to say this, who have a certain thing that they excel at the most, So one, how do I forgot the term for it when you have something that's,
The
yeah,
spike.
spike, 100%, yes.
Hmm.
They appreciate the students who have a spike and are really invested in one topic, in one certain thing. Stanford appreciate that. So if you're applying to Stanford and you're interested in something, you better do the maybe the research paper, and you better dip deeper into your spike and do something extracurricular, maybe on regional level, maybe on international level. And
Hmm.
when she came to Duke, she said more of a Duke likes students who are more well-rounded. It's not that they don't appreciate spikes, but in general sense, they tend to pick students who have everything. In, they they like students who are in top 10% in everything rather than 1% in one thing. So your
Mm.
social side, your communications, your leadership positions, your extracurricular activities, you everything has to be on good levels, like really good. But if but not necessarily a spiky way. Because I've been around campus and I've met so many people, and they don't really have the
Hmm.
a lot of them don't really have a spike of interests. They don't really have the spike of, hey, I'm really into computer science, or I will do it. I've met a couple of them, but not all of them. And a lot of them are simply doing econ, simply doing this,
Oh,
just because,
um, a moment. What is this? What happened? Yeah. Okay.
yeah, a lot of them are uncertain about their majors. And but if you look in general sense about their personality, about their persona, they have done international experiences. They have done leaderships. They have done something about their houses, some kind of
Mhm.
impact to their home community, some kind of impact to the outer community. Uh, they have done something about the interests, but not as far as Stanford students who are complete nerds about one topic, right?
Mhm. Okay, so still, to sum up, right? When we think of different universities that, for example, share some value, for example, in this case, entrepreneurship, right, or innovation, the way this value is important for them differs in how they formulate kind of a vision for an incoming class, right? So the vision for a Duke student is you got to be 10% of like in anything you do, right? Whether that's a home chores, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's writing and your major related activities, while some universities will seek people who are 1% and one thing, but also have interesting experiences somewhere else. Mhm. And it's also a
I
good.
think I've got the answer for your question. Sorry to interrupt.
Uh-huh.
I think I finally got the answer to your question about what Duke specifically values. So I think the answer is community. It's like
Mhm.
community and community engagement for I think the best description. And as you said, entrepreneurship, because I actually
Mhm.
thought about it and I noticed that a lot of clubs here at Duke are about entrepreneurship. A lot, even
Mm.
medicine is about entrepreneurship here. So we've got a medical school, but a lot of them are trying to use AI and computer science to come up with some engineering stuff to
Mm.
make a startup, to come up with
Mhm.
something that makes a business quick buck. And the second thing about being community, the thing with Duke is that it's in a smaller city with with population of
Mhm.
around 200,000 people. It's a city called
Mhm.
Durham, and it's not as big as Boston or New York or Philadelphia, like for UPenn, right? It's a smaller
Mhm.
city. So when you come into this place, you are mostly surrounded not by the residents, but by Duke students themselves, because the community itself is small, and the campus is so big that it takes up half of the city. So you have 18, 20,000 Duke students, and you are surrounded by them throughout the whole 4 years. And I would say 18,000 people throughout the four years is very much limited number of people. As I said, it's not Philadelphia, it's not New York, it's not Boston like for other top universities. So when you stay in a small community like Duke, you have to be social, you have to be communicative, you have to have leadership experience for you to succeed socially
Mhm.
and be an active member of this community. Because when the community is small, you have less activities. It's not you have less to offer. But if you have more engaged, more active students,
Mhm,
even the small number of people will be able to replicate the same experience as in bigger cities.
mhm. So, to a little bit interrupt our discussion of specific Duke University experience, the Duke, wait, I forgot which city Duke is placed in.
It's a city called Durham in North
Durham,
Carolina.
yes, Durham, yeah. There's also a joint effort of Duke University and wait a second, I think it's yeah, it's Wuhan University, and this joint venture is called Duke Kunshan University. And one guest from the audience asked me a very interesting question: what differs Duke Kunshan experience from Duke experience, and what is common between them two? Which inspired me to invite one of our freshman alumni here, Danior Yerkinov, who is as far as I know, a second year student at Duke Kunshan, right, Danior?
Yeah, hello. My name is Donior. I'm a
Hi.
sophomore at Sulaiman. Yes.
Yeah, super happy to have you as a visiting guest here. So we were
Thank you.
discussing the
Likewise.
values of Duke, and I thought of inviting you to speak more about like Duke Kunshan University, right? So
Oh, sure.
now that you're here for like for the second year, what do you feel Duke Kunshan cares the most about?
Oh, that's a nice question. Yeah, I've been here for a year, and I think what Dukushan cares most is it might sound a bit cliche, but we definitely care about a community because unlike Duke, we don't have 20,000 students. We have around like maximum 1,000 students at the college, like 250, 300 students per class, and actually, especially internationals, almost all of us know each other. Like
Mm-hmm.
there are like 400, 500 international students, and you know at least half of them, and that makes you close-knit community, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to excel in this close-knit community, you have to be respectful towards others. You have to appreciate, no, I mean, at least have respect towards others' values and define your own values at this college.
Mm-hmm.
And the college is small, the campus is small. We don't have that many resources at Duke or Yale or Harvard or other big colleges. But like I also would say, Duke Shan also appreciate when a student is resourceful, when a
Mm-hmm.
student is able to make the best out of the not limited resources. Because if we compare Duke Shan's resources, let's say to any other universities' resources, even in Central Asia, it's definitely way more. But like
Mm-hmm.
uh, I'm comparing Duke Shan's resources, let's say, with that of Duke or like Tsinghua, like other
Mm-hmm.
universities in China have less. So students should be proactive. They should be able to
Mm-hmm.
utilize them, actively engage, and be curious. So like I think
Mm-hmm.
there's like community engagement, curiosity, closing community. These
Mm-hmm.
are the things that so far Duke values, because from the students that got in, most are interested in research, entrepreneurship, and like aspiring students here. So I
Mm-hmm.
think so far Deuce as a college that seemed to be mostly appreciated by Dukushan.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Yep.
you mentioned that there are way less resources than, for example, in a bigger school in the US, right?
Yeah.
So now that I've had plenty of conversations with students from universities in the US, and what they typically mention is that whenever you arrive on campus, you're bombarded with various opportunities. Like, uh, and like a- and you shouldn't fight for them because there's so many opportunities, right? You can try so many things. Do you feel like it's the same with Duke Kunshan, or because there's less resources, you really have to be way more proactive to get involved somewhere?
First of all, what do you mean by resource? Like academic resources or like?
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's a great question, which you must define because you started speaking about the resources.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
From my perspective, it's mostly about research opportunities because I'm a
Mm-hmm.
student interested in pursuing research, and I think we have great labs here, like great professors who are always willing to collaborate with students to pursue research. And yeah, I mean, it's actually an advantage that the student to professor, the student to faculty ratio is smaller in Dukushan, so like there's a higher chance you gotta collaborate with professors, with the faculties there. But regarding other resources, let's say even financial resources, definitely we have less. So let's say that yes, you can organize a club, but like we don't have like 300, 200 clubs. We have like we have like 60-ish clubs, but we don't have that many like clubs that compared to Duke or other coach. We don't have frats. So like whenever you want to do something, let's say build a startup, you are definitely given money and you have training at Sujo entrepreneurship. But like you by less resources, I mean like you're given less maybe financial resources for sure because like China and different scales. So yeah, you have to apply your entrepreneurial, let's say, thinking to use these resources wisely, I would say. But regarding academic resources, we have enough. But I would say that if we go if we go within academics, within classes, definitely Duke has way more classes to offer. I mean, like other units, because it's liberal arts and we don't have that many classes, for example. But at Duke, I think they have a lot of courses related to comp sci and like a lot of elective courses, I believe. And because most students who go to Duke for a semester or a year, they mostly choose this like interesting course that you cannot find at Duke Rushan. For example, we don't have, let's say, course related to business because definitely it's liberal arts, and we're not let's say specific designed courses, academic courses, or like a specific course designed for I don't know for blockchain. We don't have it, but like at Duke they might have it. So this might be the constraint. I mean,
Okay. And I unfortunately haven't done a lot of research related to Duke Kunshan because this idea visited me just recently. So the question is there an opportunity for Duke Kunshan students to visit for a summer or for a semester Duke University?
yeah, definitely. As I mentioned, we can go to Duke for summer, for a year.
Have you?
We could go. No, I
Do you
haven't.
plan? Do you plan?
If I get my visa, why not?
Uh-huh. Okay, got it. Do you know any students who've been to Duke from Duke Kunshan?
Like, oh yeah, I know a bunch of them. They come for a semester, yeah, as an exchange students. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
but they say academically wise, it's tougher here because at Duke Kunshan we have different system like sessions. We don't have semesters. We're like the semester is divided into 2 sessions, and the exams are nearly every other week. So some
So
of them
yeah, so I think what is reflected in this design of learning is, I think, more of a Chinese approach towards education, right? Like there's kind of more
uh,
structure, maybe more intensity, or I'm wrong
uh,
about this.
I'm not sure whether the framing, let's say Chinese, is correct, but yeah, we
Okay.
have. Let's say we have more intense and stricter because most of the STEM profs are also from China, and yeah, they expect it to be excelling because most of the students from China, like especially in STEM classes, it's actually like 70% of them are male in China students, and they had the Gaokao, they're like top 1% Gaokao performers. Like Gaokao is one of the toughest exams, I believe, for high schoolers. Maybe the toughest one. And yeah, they do well in classes, so professors also expect us to also excel. So I mean, yeah,
Okay, so from this portion of our discussion, if we compare Duke to Duke Kunshan, right? Duke Kunshan offers, well, because it's a smaller college, right? It has smaller resources, smaller clubs, a more
yep,
tightly connected community, which I think is going to mean that in admissions they will place a greater emphasis on the quality of your maybe social skills or on how you're able to craft, not craft, like build relationships. Do you
yep.
feel like this is the case? And how do you remember that was mentioned in your admissions case, like
Oh, nice
application?
questions. Nice questions. I believe from the students who got in, especially internationals one, this might apply. This might be the case because students, especially, I mean, international students here, like, I mean, not in all students, but mostly like internationals who come from, let's say,
Mhm.
different backgrounds. Like they're proactive, they want to run some clubs, or they want to they want to do research, be part of one club, another club, but like active member, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, I might agree, but I haven't done but I haven't talked to admission officers directly, so
Mhm.
I might not be sure about it. But there's some, let's say, patterns that I have observed for last couple of years from the
Mhm.
students who got in here because they have, this drive, like let's go, let's go.
Mhm.
Um, in my case, I had like a couple of clubs like within school, like a district level clubs, like robotics club, some volunteer activities. Also, I had some, let's say social entrepreneurship quote by quote activities, which might reflect my community engagement, my engagement with the communities that I want to bring impact. Because in the end, those big colleges, I believe, not all the time, but usually they give you scholarship because they believe you might make a change. So yeah.
You might make a change.
Because
Okay,
if you made
great.
the change, because if you made some change, at least some positive change within the scale of your city, given less
Mhm.
resources, how about we give you more resources and see how you can propel, for example.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's
mostly 90% of sorry, it's my phone.
yeah.
So,
Uh,
but like in most cases,
mhm.
students just graduate and go to consulting or big tech, but who knows?
Mhm. So you mentioned that you've been a member of robotics club. So um what is the major you're pursuing? Is it computer
Oh,
science
computer
related?
science. Computer
Wow,
science
perfect
graduates.
match. Because Suleiman is also pursuing computer science. So I think it'd be
Yeah, I'm doing like
very
comp
in
sci, applied math. So,
right.
yeah.
So okay, I am like I am absolutely negligent in this area of knowledge, unfortunately. So I might
Yaren's a
not be
genius though.
that yeah, I might not be that good at managing this part of our conversation. Right. So I think you might have many or some questions to ask each other right now to compare your computer science experience at different colleges. So, who can we start with?
Well, do we have questions actually? Do we have questions for each other?
What
Yeah,
shall we discuss?
I don't know, like I think, for example, Daniel, think about like you might be planning to go to Duke, right? Now that you're
Yeah,
majoring in computer science, imagine
yeah.
yourself on Duke campus, right there. What questions would you want to ask a computer science student to get to know better what kind of awaits you in a way?
Um, Basically, I guess we have similar, if not same, major requirements. So I would probably ask what other electives you have because at Dikunshan we have great faculty at,
Hmm.
say, in biology, in neuroscience, but unfortunately we do have a great faculty in computer science, but because there are less professors in computer science and less computational resource, for example, yeah, we do have a lab where you can work on where you can get a video card and work on the computer vision projects, but we don't have a lab, let's say, for the natural language processing
Mhm.
research, or let's say to build a large language model like from scratch. I mean, building large language model from scratch is a crazy idea which requires tons of computational resources, but so far we do not have those resources, I believe, on the campus directly, but like outside of campus, professors do have labs. So my first question would be like, what resources like for computer science, let's say for computational research, does
Hmm.
Duke have, and what other courses in electives does Duke offer? For example, like some of my friends from US. I mean, just one example. It might be different course, but like so they say, hey, I'm taking mobile up like mobile application course on mobile application, sorry, and a course, let's say, on cybersecurity or any other, let's say, generic computer science course. Meanwhile, we don't have it. I mean, we do study some aspects of of web applications through different courses, but we don't. But maybe we do not specifically study them, right? So I just want to know what Duke offers, and I believe Duke offers more in terms of like academics, resources. So I would be like willing, what would you recommend me to take? But at the same time, I wouldn't do like hardcore academics, like 4 hard classes at Duke. Since I'm in America for like maybe maximum 1 semester, I'll be probably take some chiller schedule and try to focus on some other stuff at Duke, with just rather than just, let's say, cramming from one exam to another exam like I'm doing here. So
Hello, Daniel. Yeah, I
yeah.
think Duke has lots to offer academically, as you said. And in terms of computer science, I've been here for only a month, and I haven't been able to explore all of them. But one thing I know for sure is that there are very specific courses that Duke offers. For example, there's a course called, I think, a large language model fine tuning, where you get to tune your own bots, and you'll be able to use them for whatever reason. And it's a full unit course, so it's like a really very specific, very small specific, but it goes to your major, and it's a full unit credit. There are many such courses about AI. I think there are like, in the topic of AI, there might be around 15 very specific courses of AI tuning, building, about how to actually try to recreate AI, how to encode your data, how to create your own data for large language model tuning, and all those courses. So very specific, very targeted courses, which is really nice. And with me taking computer science with a focus, with a concentration on AI, I will be able to take them. And yeah, very much interesting. When you come over, you should definitely take large language model courses here at Duke. They're really interesting and very useful. And in terms of resource for specific, in general, for computer science, I feel like there are lots of free resources.
Check.
Duke provides. Duke has their. Can you hear me? Yeah, Duke
Yeah.
has their own center for GPUs. So they have the engineering center where you can go, and whatever GPU requirements you have. For example, if you want to train your own AI, you will be able to use the institution's CPUs and GPUs to instead of your computer. So if you're limited by 16 gigabytes or 32 gigabytes of your laptop, you'll be able to go to Duke and use maybe 1,000 gigabytes, maybe 2,000. All the resources of Duke, you'll be able to use it for yourself. And there are lots of courses between different schools of Duke. So Fuqua Business, Fuqua Entrepreneurship, different kind of only master's schools. You have Duke Medicine. All of them are involved in what we call computer science and entrepreneurship. So all of them contribute. You have courses for if you're a computer scientist, you'll be able to work for Duke School of Medicine for entrepreneurship, to do something for their clubs. You will be able to work for Duke Fuqua to work with their startups and help them with computer science. You'll be able to work with a School of Arts and Sciences, School of Engineering, and all of them. So it's very much connected. The schools are very much connected and united to allow computer science students to pursue interest in any school they want to pursue their interests in.
And to promote the creativity and innovation, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, here it's mostly you study them from if you take like a machine learning, that's a class related to AI. You mentioned the classes that have, let's say, that are on a higher level of abstraction. If I tell it like, but here we at DQU we mostly like focus on a deeper level of abstraction, where you have like course like statistical machine learning, where you study all the stats math behind those ML models, ML algorithms, like the optimization. I mean, like all the fundamentals. Like regarding the application side, yeah, we don't have much, but still, like through different research projects, we somehow get to we somehow get the opportunity to apply them. But yeah, well, very good session. Was like almost 11 p.m. at
So
here.
yeah, because I invited the New York for a brief of 20 minutes, and I
No, it's
believe
okay.
he'll have to run, or you can stay for a little bit more. or
No,
no?
I definitely enjoyed the conversation.
Mhm.
Sulaiman Khydyr. I mean,
Yeah.
Sulaiman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sulaiman.
Yeah, Sulaiman. Nice. It was very nice talk to you because I heard of you like from Freshman Academy, alumni network, and best of luck at Duke. Please enjoy your semester, enjoy your academic year at Duke. Enjoy Durham. Durham also. Durham is not a big city as you said. I mean, Durham is remember Durham is a city where Duke is located. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So
Thank you very much, Junior. I really appreciate you. Appreciate your words as well. I've heard of you as well. I think we connected on LinkedIn too with through
yeah,
Duke
Mhm.
connections. You should definitely come over to Duke. Like we'll meet you here. I think we've got a Central Asian community of around 20 people in Durham,
wow,
and
yeah.
I think
Let's have some
maybe like
benchmarks to
yeah,
both.
yeah, maybe like four of them are Duke students, some of them masters, some of them undergraduates. You should definitely come over and make an addition to that. And one thing that I can say is, if you come over to Duke, all Duke Kunshan students are in this in this dormitory that I'm living in. They will be here, so we'll be able to meet.
Hmm.
If you see
That
them, say hello to them.
Yeah,
that's very convenient. Right. I'm super excited about connecting you two and kind of facilitating a more Duke connection here. Right.
Liaison,
Definitely
right?
would go a bit more into discussing Duke resources, but for that we have a different event series, which is called Une Insider. And today we're focusing more on the admissions itself, right? And there's a lot of questions that people are sending about your supplemental essays and personal statements, right? And also about the scholarships, I believe. Yeah, the Fulbright scholarship. So, as we know, there are various types of financial aid. And as far as I know, Duke offers to international students, right, around 20 to 25, maybe 30 Fulbright scholarships per year, right?
yes.
So yeah. Is there a specific name for this scholarship? Or it's like if you apply as an international student, you're just automatically considered for this default international Fulbright scholarship.
Yeah. Well, for me specifically, in my case was just I applied
Mhm.
to Duke and I got the full ride. I didn't apply for a
Okay.
specific scholarship, but
Mm-hmm.
I was given it. But I think the name for it is Karsh Scholarship, Karsh,
Mm-hmm.
Karsh, Karsh Scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives 20 full rides to international students every year for Duke. But there are it's not you're not limited to to Karsh only. Like there are other special
Mm-hmm.
scholarships for engineers,
Mm-hmm.
for leaders. You just need to search up their website and see what kind of scholarship there are for international students. Because
Mm-hmm.
I know of two people besides the 20 that already got in through college. I know of two people that got in through a special engineering program where they will get to have the full right first of all, and second they have the benefit of special scholarship is that you will be able to stay over the summer for at Duke. You will come early for the first summer, and then the next summer after you finish your freshman year, you'll be able to stay at Duke and get an internship from Duke itself. So do not be limited by need-based aid, and maybe like do your research on specific scholarships or specific institutions and
Mm-hmm.
apply to them.
There's also, as far as I know, like I'm just reminiscing one case. One of my, I wouldn't say friends, but acquaintances also got into Duke, but not directly through their FinAid, like through, getting FinAid from Duke. But there's a Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation. They host some like programs or they offer scholarships, and you kind of apply to that program, and they can give you a full ride support to get either into Duke or into any American university. I don't know specifically of that, but I know that there are such cases. And yeah, so let's switch a bit more to talk in depth about your writing experience, right? I remember in our pre-call, you mentioned that you started writing as late as 15th of December or like early December, in December.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's true. I started writing my essays as late as I think Well, I mean, the initiative started on the 15th of December, but I wrote my personal statement in 7 days, within 7 days. And my supplementals maybe like 3, maybe 5. I wrote the essays within that time frame because I kind of had to, because I started out late for my writing. But the point about my story of writing is, as Abraham Lincoln said it, if I had 7 hours to cut down a tree, I would spend 6 sharpening my axe. So I think I spent lots of my time sharpening my edge, sharpening my writing skills throughout the year by reading lots of essays, by listening to lots of podcasts about essays. For example, Yale admissions podcast, right? By reading books in general. Like I would spend just sitting there reading like 10 pages at least a day. That was the number one goal for me. 10 pages a day, you read English literature. Uh, by analyzing essays. I wouldn't just read the essays. You have to analyze them mathematically, analyze them metaphorically. You have to calculate the proportions of how many, where do they add as like metaphors? Is it okay to add metaphors in the beginning, or should I add in the end? Uh, when to write short sentences, where to write long sentences. You have to like just see if you read essays long enough, you'll be able to see the patterns of essays across different sets of essays. So I would say sharpen your axe and just read lots of essays, watch lots of YouTube videos, TikTok videos about essays, listen to lots of advice from American YouTubers about essays. That's what I did. But start early. Like, do not start on the 15th of December and start begging for help on Reddit from random students from America. Start it early. Write your essays. Like I said it now. Maybe you should start today. Maybe you should start your essay today, right?
Yeah.
I
think
you just have to be consistent. Like, open a Google document, just name it personal statement, and visit it for at least 5 minutes a day, and it will help you tremendously more than just sitting and doing nothing.
But I think you started practicing extensive writing and storytelling way before you got into the admissions, right?
Yes. In general, I'm good at writing. Like it's been the case that throughout my middle school, high school experience, I've been the person who would just write everything for the classes, whether it's like essays, whether you have to do some kind of small research about a poet, about a scientist, and you have to come up with a report to high school project. I was the one who would do it because I had the writing skills. And besides that, I used to write poems. I still do. I used to write essays, and the essays were really good. I used to write them in Russian, and they were actually so good. I'm not gonna brag, but they were actually so good that my teacher would read the pages of after I finished writing. She would just cut the pages of my notebooks, and she would take it as her and put it in her quote unquote small library, so she could read it to other students as an example. Uh, so writing really has helped me throughout my life, because I remember writing my Flex application and writing those 3 required essays on the first step, which I wrote, I think, brilliantly. A lot of people have used my Flex exemplar essay to apply to Flex as well, and I know two people who got into Flex through my advice. So essay writing really helps you. Like, learn to write essays. Not necessarily. Do not even think like I need to learn how to write essays English first. First, be able to write essays in the language that you use in your school. So if you go to Uzbek school, like, you have to be able to express yourself perfectly in Uzbek first. Then you'll be able to express yourself in English. So be a good writer first, and then be a good writer in English.
And a bit more about the personal statement. So being able to write well and deliver your ideas, it's a one thing. But a different thing is finding a story and telling it in such a way that it encapsulates a lot of meaning, right? So how did you approach the storytelling itself? What was your process of devising an idea for how to write a personal statement, right? Was there any specific strategy, approach, unique idea?
Yeah, 100%. Well, the thing that I struggled with the most was, as I told you, I started writing my essay like in the middle of December, latter
Mhm.
like even later than the middle of December, and the reason is I tried to come up with a story, with a unique story that I could use in my personal statement. I was thinking, all right, can I use this story? What kind of story should I include in my personal statement? Maybe this, maybe not. Oh, this doesn't fit. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do that. I was trying to come up with a story to write my personal statement. But in the middle of December, I realized I shouldn't really think of a story, but I should think of value. First, I came up with with four-step solutions. And it's like, it's a very narrow topic because it's only one type of essay that you can include. But this is what I came up with. First step was to come up with some values that you want your essay to reflect. Mine was, for example, self-development, taking responsibility, and academic success. So three values, and then three values: self-development, responsibility for yourself, and then academic development. You come up with the values, first step, right? And then you have to come up. The second thing is come up with something in your life that happens a lot that can represent those values. So what's something in your life that can represent responsibility, taking control of your life, development, uh, academic success? So for me was I realized that my father is a taxi driver, and it's been the case that the car has been in my life for all my life, and it's a big part of me. And then I thought of small thing, very simple thing. It doesn't need to be complex. Of a very small item that is universal across cultures that can represent
Mhm.
those values. And the thing that I came up with was the steering wheel. So the thing that you control, right? The steering wheel. And the steering wheel represents taking responsibility for your life because you are the one driving, control the direction of your life, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
You are responsibility because you're responsible for your passengers, people in your life, and development because you learn how to drive. It's not like you sit and just you know how to learn how to drive. You learn, you practice first, you fail, and then you are able to become a good driver. And academic success being you drive, right? You drive from point A to B. If you're able to drive from one point to another, it metaphorically represents being able to accomplish goals, going from one place to another. So the steering wheel was the perfect universe. It's first of all, it's simple enough. Like anyone knows what the steering wheel is, right? Across all cultures. And
Mhm.
second thing, it represents the values perfectly. Taking responsibility, control of your life, uh, and success and academic success. You go from point A of not being able to drive, and then point B being able to drive and being a good driver. So
Mhm.
I picked the steering wheel. Now, the third step is to think of words that are associated with the steering wheel. So what can be associated with the steering wheel? Steering wheel can be associated with the pedals, right? Pedals. You can pick, all right, pedals. We add pedals
Mhm.
uh, to that group. We have the roads. All right, we have road. What else do we have on the road? We have potholes. All right, what else do we have on the road? We have lanes. We have we have sidewalks, we have stops, right? Bus stops. We have the windshield. We have the passenger seats. What else do we have? We have the radio, right? Well, if you drive, you have the radio. You have the music that comes up. You have the passengers who just there to support you. So we picked out the words that are one way or another related to the steering wheel, right? And they're simple enough. Now, the fourth step is you have to think of what those related words can represent. So potholes, for example, they can represent problems in life, problems, failures.
Mhm.
Passengers, those are the people in your life. Like passenger, the person sitting next to you, he or she will support the steering wheel for you if you're tired. They are there to support you. They are there to rub your back if you are tired, right? You as a driver, they are there to help you. They represent the people in your life. Lanes that represent the paths that you choose in your life. So I represented lane as a compute as
Mhm.
the way the direction of my life that I chose. Because depending on which lane you go different directions, right? Lanes
Mhm.
separated at some point. And my lane, I said in my essay, I said, my lane is computer science. I said directly. So I said, my lane is computer science. Uh, what else can I present? Bus stops, bus stops. At some points, you have to drop some passengers off. Some points they leave. Some points, new passengers come into your life. But the road continues, and you have to go until the end of the road. You
Mm.
have the music, right? That describes the background of your life, the mood of your life. The music as well. It's important. It's an important part of the car, right? Uh,
Mhm.
what can it represent? It can represent the mood of your life. It can represent different moments because you can switch the music. So, and then you found the values that those small things can represent, right? Potholes. Let's say
Mm.
you've got potholes and they represent problems in your life. Now think of problems in your life and represent them through potholes. So, for example, for me, in my case, in the beginning of my essay, I made a hook where I said, um, I couldn't control the steering wheel. I'm not saying the direct words. I'm not quoting directly, but in short, I said I couldn't control the steering wheel, and I hit the pothole, and the car jolted and stopped. I hit the brakes and stopped. And the hook was that they thought that I was driving in the middle of the road when I was, and I mentioned my age. I said at 11 years of age, I couldn't control the steering wheel. I was in the middle of the road, and then it crashed into pothole, and then the car stopped. They thought I was 11 and driving a car illegally. That was the hook. But then I give the context that I was sitting on my dad's lap, and then I was controlling the steering wheel.
Mhm.
So the hook was in the beginning, I failed a driving test. And then throughout the essay, I start talking about potholes and how to overcome them. I started talking about choosing the right lane, about smoothly controlling the steering wheel to be able to drive, about pressing the right pedals at right times, tuning the right music in different parts of your life. And then through those examples, in the end, I come to a point where I learn how to drive. And I'm not 11 anymore. I'm already 18, and I'm able to drive a car. And my lane is computer science. I'm choosing it. I chose computer science. My lane is that. And then in the end, I make a metaphor where I say there will be many potholes coming my way in this lane. I'm certain that there will be many potholes coming my way, but more stronger and confident hands will support it through every new path. So that was the metaphor, right? Circular one. In the beginning, I can drive, and the end, more confident hands will support the steering wheel through any pothole. That was the metaphor. And I said, and I also want to mention that I said computer science was computer science became my lane, and my father was my first passenger. So you have to, I mentioned in a way of saying, I specifically said first passenger because if you say my father was passenger, it's like it's not very specific. But if you say first passenger, it means that there will be other passengers as well. There will be other people that you'll be able to help
Mhm.
with you driving and on the path of computer science.
So overall, it's about finding a probably a very meaningful moment or like a scenario from your life, right? Kind of having a vision. In your case, this is being in a car with your father, right? And
Not
then,
specific. It doesn't have to be a
mhm,
specific moment. Sorry to interrupt. It
yeah.
doesn't have to be like a
Hmm.
single moment of
Okay.
specificity. It's just a general connection to something that happens a lot in your life. And it has to be very simple. So, for example, uh, a car. A car is very much universal. Literally, everyone has a car. Every culture, right? The steering wheel. It's very much universal. So that was a part of my life, and I decided to write my story through in relation to driving and use those metaphors in a car to express my problems, my development through metaphors. And I'll even give you like two more examples that I came up with my students at BNS admissions. Uh,
Mhm.
for example, we had a student who had some medical problems that kind of tied his ability to study to the fullest. He had some medical problems, and then I started asking him questions like, "What do you have? What do you do in general? Like, tell me something more about you. What kind of activities do you do? Tell me about your parents. Tell me what do they do? Tell me about your family members. What do they do?" And one thing he told me was, he said, my father does pottery, pottery. So you have pottery. And I thought of it and it was like, pottery is very much universal. And pottery is like very simple for you, anyone to understand, even if you're writing from America or Uzbekistan. So like, all right, let's pick this topic. And then let's represent your medical problem through pottery and that you overcame your problems. So what we decided to do was, like, in the beginning of his essay, he will write about building the base of his vase. So he's building a vase, right? He's like spinning the base, and he's building the base of his vase. In the beginning, he builds the vase. He's born, and then in the middle, when he starts building, we talked metaphorically that people aren't allowed to choose the material of their vase. They're not allowed to choose the consistency of their vase. And he said that he had a problem of, he had a certain stone on his on his material that he had to incorporate into his vase, because he wasn't able to choose the vase. No one has, right? Everyone is born with the pottery materials that they are given by God. So he said he had some problematic material in his materials in general. So he started building his base, and then there's a problem right in the middle. It's very difficult to build the middle part of his base. He has a stone that he has to overcome and put it in the middle of his base, and then he goes to the top. Top is the most difficult because you have to be concentrated. So he goes from the base, which is his childhood, to the top of his base, which is his high school experience, that goes more difficult and difficult and difficult. And in the middle of it, there's a stone of his medical problem. And then we represent it in a way of saying, every time he spins the how to say, the thing that spins the whole vase, like in pottery, the tool. Every time he spins it, he doesn't just ignore the stone. He refines it. He goes over it he refines it with his own hands. He refines the stone to the point where it's not a stone that can scar you and makes your vase look ugly. It's a stone that encapsulates his life. It's like it's so refined, it's so worked on that it's like a mirror. It reflects light. It became a beautiful stone. It became a beautiful stone of his vase, rather than becoming a problematic, ugly spot of his vase. And the second example, it was about building houses. So I had a student who, for example, we decided to talk about his parents. So I asked him, "What do your parents do?" And he's like, "My mother is a housewife. My father is a house builder, so like construction worker." And he said, like, I'm applying for engineering, and I'm applying for design, in something of between engineering and design. And my father's a construction worker. So I was like, bingo, we want to talk about that. And we started talking about building houses. So I picked out the word brick. We have bricks, laying bricks. And then we pick out some other words that are related to building, construction in general, which is like cement, which is like the paste, which is like the structure, design, the base. The base can represent like the most important, your life, your base, right? Uh, uh, Timing, corners, laying bricks, working every day. Or we chose some words related to construction. And then we started talking about his life metaphorically, where he said, where he says, I built my base through this. I was born into this base. I laid different colored bricks because I got this extracurricular activity that made me this way, and I grabbed bricks from that house and then put it into my own wall. I got different colored bricks from this community, and I used their bricks to build a part of my house. I got bricks from this community, and I just used them in this house. I got cement from this family that I used as a paste for all of my bricks. I built windows to look across into this field, into computer science. I built windows to look across this. I built pathways to this. I built a door. I broke the wall to build a door into this field, for example, computer science or engineering. And then you can say you can use it as he did it in a way of saying, I built my own life. So you see, bricks about building. He says, I built my
Mm-hmm.
own life. I built my life through this. I opened doors for this opportunity. I opened
Mm-hmm.
doors for this direction. I opened the window for this thing. Mm. So like as I said, we worked on 2 students, and they got really good applications, essays, and they will be applied. They will be applying this year, and I have high hopes for them. But in general sense, as I said, pick something that happens a lot in your life. My father
Mm-hmm.
was a taxi driver, so I picked a car. Uh, and his father was a construction worker. He picked construction worker, being a construction worker, building houses. Pick something that happens a lot in your life, but pick something that's very simple, that's universal across worlds, uh, and make metaphors out of them. That's the structure for my type of essay. So it's like my essay is like maybe one of 20 templates that you can use. But if you go about
Mm-hmm.
mine, pick something very simple, pick words related to it, and build metaphors out of them.
Mm-hmm. So it's more like about a symbolic communication, a way deeper meaning through objects, right? And how you kind of connect it all together to build your identity and kind of actually tell multiple storylines within one story, right?
Mhm.
And also
Mhm.
showing a lot. I think what like what your approach encapsulates is masterfully showing and not telling.
Mhm. Yes, right. A lot of people, I think the general advice in essays is being
Yeah.
show, don't tell. Uh, the problem with Central Asian students in that regard specifically is that they tell about their thoughts, but not about their
Yeah.
actions. So this is a very simple formula. Tell about your actions rather than your thoughts. Because when I read students, some of the essays from BNS admissions, I've reached one, I've reached two, I've reached three courses from BNS admissions.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them have essays where they only write about what they think. For example, they say, I view computer science as a window for me to do this and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought this and this and this and that. But what did you do about it specifically? What did you do about computer science? Like, did you pursue anything? Write about it. Like they're like, I thought I was already writing about it by writing about me being passionate about it. No, you have to write about actively doing it. And
Mm-hmm.
I think another problem is not being descriptive enough about your activities, about what you do. So what they say, uh, they describe it in a way of saying, uh, I woke up one morning, I read a book, and then I realized I was completely wrong in my approach to studies, and I started studying 12 hours a day, and it changed my life. I became a better person, except me. But they don't tell the middle part. They don't tell the story of how they opened the page and the first sentence was that how they decided to study till 12 a.m. They didn't tell those small details. They didn't tell how they were studying at 6 a.m. and their mother and their mother woke up as early as them just to give them some food, bring in some food to their table. Uh, they don't tell the fact that they would wake up early in the morning at like 3 a.m. to do some home chore just because they had to before going to school. So those kind of small descriptive language, that kind of small descriptive language is what makes your
Mm-hmm.
essay worthwhile. So for example, I remember one essay that really affected me in describing my what I did. There's an essay of a Chinese American guy who got into Yale, and he writes about him working in his father's restaurant. And then one detail that I remember is he wanted to tell that his father worked a lot for a prolonged amount of times, and the father couldn't buy himself a shoe and he used one shoe for like multiple years, and it became so old. So instead of just telling what I already said, he encapsulated it by saying, I tied the laces of my dad's gray shoes that once used to be white. So he describes them. So if they are gray and used to be white, it means that they are dirty. It means they are aged because they've been like multiple years. And then his father can't tie his shoes. He's very much old and he can't afford new shoes. So he tells the whole poverty, familial struggles, responsibilities, uh, financial struggles, all of them in one small sentence. I tied the shoes of my dad's gray. I tied the lace of my dad's gray shoes that once used to be white. So be descriptive in your language, I would say.
Mhm. There's like an incoming question to the story you're telling, but shouldn't it be about ourselves rather than our fathers, right? I think you're just using the parts of your life to tell about yourselves, right? Through, I don't know, different
Yeah,
people
100%.
and objects. Mhm.
Let me
What?
see the question. Where's like
Yeah.
about but shouldn't it be about ourselves rather than our fathers? Well, I only mentioned one sentence. I didn't talk about the
Yeah.
whole essay being about your father. I
Hmm.
mean, for example, me, I talked about my father, yes, but it wasn't about how my father did. It was about what I did to help my father to do things. So even if you mention someone in your essay, it has to be about your side of view about them rather than what they do in general, what they are as a person. So whenever you talk about someone else in your essay, you have to talk about what you did with them rather than what they did themselves. So you have to be the main
Yeah.
character in all stories. In a story about yourself, in your story about when you mention someone else, you have to mention you as the main character in describing them. So, and in this particular essay, I mentioned only one sentence. I did not say the whole essay was about his father. I said it was a story of him working at his father's restaurant.
Mhm. So, to sum up pretty much everything, and then I will ask you some extra questions. And like we're also kind of running out of time. So, some bullet points, right? Overall, about the activities, right? Um, the way to approach activities list, the way you approach them was, okay, so the first the upper portion of the activities, it was focusing on your kind of career. It was career oriented or like professional area oriented. Then there were more of high school activities, as you named them, right? Or yeah, meaning like these are some hobbies or like extra dimension to who you are as, for example, computer scientist, right?
Uh, if yeah, I mean, first one being something related to your career in general,
Yep,
computer
yep,
science
yep.
or computer science and the activities. Second group being your what makes you generally a good applicant. So what others have,
Mm,
clubs, clubs, responsibilities, leadership positions in school,
mm-hmm,
maybe some sports that you did, maybe some extracurriculars that are not directly linked to your computer science, but just make you a generally good applicant. And the
mm-hmm.
third last is being something of your own, something about
Yeah.
like a new perspective to you. Maybe you have a hobby that you don't talk about. Maybe you have some home chores that you didn't talk
Mm-hmm,
about, and those kind of things really matter because a lot of Central Asian students do have home chores, but they don't mention them because it's already like it's a default setting. They think, hey, home chores are already default. Why would I mention them? Literally everybody in Central Asia does it, but the Americans don't. For Americans,
mm-hmm,
home chores is something that should be mentioned in the extracurricular activities, and it's very much appreciated because if you talk about home chores, and that it took up some part of your life, they will understand the context that hey, he did both at the same time. He had to go to high school, he had to do his home chores, he had to do his extracurriculars, all three at the same time, which adds a unique perspective to your application.
mm-hmm. So career oriented, then activities that make you a very good applicant on in general, and then something that adds extra to your personality, like chores or maybe gardening or something like that. Something very, very lively, so to say. Okay, then another important insight that we got from you was that you can better up your application by um, starting to think more like a domestic applicant, nor like not like an international applicant, right? And you can do that by engaging more with the resources that American applicants use, right? Using listening to their YouTubers, or maybe yeah, I think we haven't discussed specific resources. Like that can be Reddit. You can go to Reddit and to find the people from the US who got in, right? And ask for feedback from them, right? But what were the other resources that people can use, like that are that Americans use specifically?
Well, LinkedIn, Instagram, Reddit. I
Okay.
think Reddit is the most American thing because I noticed one thing that
Mhm.
I used Reddit since ever I came back from the United States, and a lot of applicants that applied the same year as me, when I was asking them like, "Hey, do you use Reddit?" They're like, "Yes," and I'm like, "How do you use it?" They're like, "I read posts." And the difference was I was using it to connect to people. I was the one making posts, not reading them. I was like asking for help, asking questions. So
Mhm.
it's even more about how you use it, how actively you use it. Because even though they knew what Reddit was, they didn't use it actively. I did. Uh, LinkedIn, message people on LinkedIn. The thing is, I receive a lot of messages on LinkedIn, and sometimes I just sit down and be like, all right, let me answer the question just because I'm happy today. I'm generous. I feel generous. Let me answer this random question from a random person on the internet.
Mhm.
And Instagram, there are Instagram pages of people who got accepted to a specific school to a specific year. For example, Duke 28, Harvard 28, Yale 28, those kind of pages. You can just go there and see people's Instagram accounts. You can just message them, and it's it's
Hmm.
it's like message all of them. Even if one, two of them actively reply to you, isn't it better than nothing? It's like a
Yeah.
college acceptance, right? If at least one of even if you get at least one advice, it's better than nothing.
Mhm. Mhm. Reach out to people without any fear and without being shy at all. Reach out to as many people as you can, especially around the time when people are getting early decision or early action admission letters, right? Acceptance letters, because they feel happy and more generous to help. Okay, so then we focused more on Duke values, and Duke values more entrepreneurship, innovation. They are also community oriented a lot, right? And also they care about you being 10% good, like being in the 10% in any activity, right? Okay, and then we were talking um about the writing. Wait, where are we else about writing? Oh, and there you have your own approach, right? Which is connected to finding the objects and building a visual storyline with them and putting a lot of specific meaning to those objects. And that meaning must be connected to your personal values that you want to communicate through that storytelling, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Also, another advice is to engage in writing as early as possible. Only this activity will actually help you if you are procrastinating and starting your application very, very late. Right. And and I think, yeah, these are the bullet points, and we can answer some of the questions, I guess. How many can we answer?
We'll just go like speed speed dating type where we just answer questions really quickly.
Yeah,
Just go
okay,
over
okay,
them.
okay, okay. So the first one, research paper. Okay, so the research paper is important. Did you make an apply, like, was your research paper, did you have research?
I did not have any research papers. I made it halfway through, but didn't finish the research paper. Didn't submit it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How can I evaluate my application to a certain university? And yeah, how can I evaluate my application, whether it's good or bad?
Compare yourself to other people who are in the same pool as you. In this case, it might be Uzbek students from Uzbekistan. Compare yourself to them, and you're not compared to other international students from India, Singapore, or
Mm-hmm.
Europe because they have very much different contexts of life than you. Compare yourself to the people
Okay.
who have the same context as you.
And how do you compare actually? Through different extracurriculars, or how do you do that? Because I
Review
think,
the
yeah, go
review the
ahead.
activities of people who got in, or just read their interview. For example, like I used to watch interviews of people who got in from Uzbekistan, from, for example, Asalhan, Farangis, all of them. I kind of understand Uzbek, so I just was listening to what they described, and you have to be attentive to what they say, and it's in small details. They don't give out full advice. They don't say do this activity, do this. Like in two three different interviews, you have to connect small sentence they mention, and it will be built into a whole sentence, a message that they say. So be attentive to details and just listen to interviews and compare yourself to them.
Okay.
And I'll say do reviews. Like give your application to people who are masters, like who are experts in admissions, and ask them to evaluate your application.
Okay. What did you write? Do you say what resources did you use? Okay, we discussed the writing a lot. Has global. Do you know? Okay, do you know anyone who so far got that scholarship? You mentioned that two people got in through that scholarship, right, to Duke. Maybe is it possible that you reach to them and maybe ask for their contacts if anyone has questions to ask?
I don't think so. They're like, I'm not gonna ask for their contact
Mm,
specifically because it's like they're very much unrelated to Uzbekistan itself
mm.
and the admissions as well. They're engineering
Oh,
students. They're
I
like
see.
they're like busy every day. But like to just give some quick facts about them, they are from one is from Mongolia and one from I
Mhm.
think Nepal. So very much the same context as Uzbekistan. So you have the same opportunity to apply to that specific scholarship.
Mhm. Okay, we haven't discussed supplementals, just mentioned them. Any specific advice on how to write them, the resources to use, or it's like just use general approach to approach writing, the one that you mentioned.
Mhm. Make your essays, use hooks in the beginning of your essays. Uh,
Mhm.
in the end, talk about the future aspirations. What do you want to do with the resource the university provides? And in the context of the diversity essay, do not try to give too much detail about your culture, because the admissions officer that is reading your application, they already know the context of the region they're getting the applications from. So if you try to describe the Uzbek culture, Uzbek traditions, you'll spend too much time talking about that rather than talking about yourself. So,
Mhm.
and the admissions officers, as I said already, they already know your culture. That's why they are your regional admissions officers, and try to use others' descriptions to your advantage. So you already know that other people will describe their culture to the max, to Uzbek culture. You don't need to introduce your admissions officers into Uzbek culture twice. The other person already did it for you. Now you already talk about yourself rather than the culture.
Mhm. Okay, so endure academic pressure. Okay, did you prove yourself as someone who can endure academic pressure at uni by taking online courses? I think you kind of approved your academic uh preparedness by showing the AP classes that you took and also extensive participation in math Olympiads, no?
I didn't take any AP
No,
classes.
no,
I
no,
proved
through
it
through
through.
Flex, through Flex, I
I didn't
believe,
take
no?
AP classes. I wasn't able
Oh,
to. I wasn't allowed to.
I
Uh, I
see.
took I took two honors classes here in America, and I got all A's on them. I got well. I didn't even mention the honors class actually, so they don't play a single role in my application. I didn't mention any of
Mhm,
my academics in America in my application. I only mentioned the Kyrgyz academics.
mhm,
I didn't take any APs. I proved it through my SATs, through Olympiads, and I feel like uh, yeah, online course as well. I took CS50, some large language model courses from Duke, from UMich. Online courses, they are really helpful too.
mhm. Okay, and another one. What do you think about writing one of the supplementals in the form of a poem?
No, don't do that. It's the general mistake that a lot of people do. They're like, let me write it in the form of a poem, in the form of a song, in the form of a letter to someone. It's like you try to be unique, but everyone is
Mhm,
it turns cliche because literally everyone tries to be unique in that way.
mhm. Do you have a Telegram channel to share?
No, I should I start a Telegram channel?
Guys, we
Should I
need
start
your
a Telegram
opinion
channel?
here. We need your opinion here.
All right, we got like
Yay!
we got like
I actually
six.
would join that too. I would love your insight to read more
We got
about it.
we got 7 subscribers already. All right, before we even
Yeah.
started. All
Yep.
right,
Exactly. Okay, and the last one, did you complete an interview?
I did. So for Duke specifically, like you have to also understand who gets the interview. In UPenn, for example, 95% of applicants at UPenn get the interview, no matter the level of their application. Like if you're a bad
Mhm.
applicant, good applicant, doesn't matter. Like all of them get interviews. Duke specifically, if you're a good applicant and they want to consider your candidature for the specific spot, they will interview you. They will interview you as early as late January and as late as March, at the beginning of March, 10th of March. Like
Mhm.
yeah, no, 4th of March, the latest interview that I ever heard of.
Okay, and okay. In which grade did you pass SAT IELTS? I think it was a year before. No?
Uh, I took my last SAT in December, at the same way with my IELTS. I took it literally on the 15th of December. I took my first ever and
Mm-hmm.
last ever IELTS on the 15th and got my results on the 17th of December,
Mm-hmm.
which is 8.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it is during my gap year, not my any of my grades.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And also, one more person is asking, what is a BNS admissions? It was mentioned a few
Uh,
times. Yeah.
yeah, it's Babirjan Bakhtiyorov. You should search him up. Babirjan Bakhtiyorov is a guy who studies at Johns Hopkins and he helps people with admissions. And 20% of his students at any course are on free basis, on scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
So I was
Yeah.
one of them. So search him up.
We actually going to be, I'm going to be interviewing him around 5th or 6th of October. Yeah, about his Johns Hopkins and overall admissions experience. So
You should
do
definitely
tune
look him
in.
up.
Yep.
Look him up. He's
Come.
got a Telegram channel of 6 or I think that 7 or 8,000 already subscribers on his Telegram, and he offers
Yeah.
lots of resources. Go to him. He has free resources to offer as
Right.
well.
So, and I think we're ready to finish up, right? Because so we've been live for almost 2 hours. It's gonna be 2 hours and 11 minutes. Right. So that was the freshman getting in series, episode 6, was wait a second. I'm just afraid to pronounce your surname in the wrong way. Was Sulaiman Khydyr. Oh, I'm sorry.
Uh, uh,
Can you teach me?
uh, yeah. Khydyr uulu.
Khydyr, oh, right, from
Yeah.
Kyrgyzstan, the city of Tokmok, right? Who
Yep.
is currently freshman at Duke University. First, thanks for joining and sharing your experience. That was a huge pleasure interviewing you. I got ton of insights. And the audience, thank you for being so committed and staying with us and spending your Saturday evening with us. Yeah, and staying for 2 hours. Yeah, we're done. The recording of the event can be found on our website, and it will be uploaded there in the next 2 to 3 days. Yep.
Mhm.
So,
Thank you to Freshman for interviewing me. Thank you to specifically Valeria and Nishiko. Thank you very much for being
thank you.
the interviewer. It's been a pleasure to work with you. And the students who are applying this year, never lose hope. I know a lot of people get depressed in the middle of winter because their application is too bad and all that. Never lose hope. Always reach out to people. There are kind people are literally everywhere. I was helped for free and I got in. Uh, so do not lose hope in humanity. Just reach out to people and ask for help. Do not give up. Be consistent with your work. If you're focused on something, do not have a plan B, because if you I know a lot of people who are like, even if I get rejected, it's fine. I'm gonna go to this university, that. So do not have a plan B. Only focus on plan A. And I wish all of you success. Go get into Harvard, Princeton, all whatever university you're dreaming of. I wish you to get in.
Mhm. Yeah, and on this cheering word, I think we're going to finish up. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for coming. Yeah, have a great evening. Bye-bye. Bye.